What are biotic resources? Resources which are obtained from biosphere and have life is known as biotic resource, such as human being, flora and fauna. What are abiotic resources? All those things which are composed of non-living things are called abiotic resources. For example, rocks and metals. What are renewable resources? The resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical, or mechanical process are known as renewable resources. For example, solar and wind. What is meant by non-renewable resources? These resources take millions of years in the formation. Some of the resources like metals are recyclable and some like fossil fuel cannot be recycled and get exhausted. What is alluvial soil? Made up of river deposit, consists of sand, silt and clay. Its type bhangra and khadar, intensely cultivated. Support dense population, ideal for paddy, wheat, sugarcane, north plain and deltas. Name three states having black soil and the crop which is mainly grown. Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Cotton is the main crop grown in black soil. What type of soil is found in the river deltas of the eastern coast? Alluvial soil is found in the river deltas of eastern coast. Alluvial soil is rich in potash, phosphoric acid and lime. It has high water retention capacity and it is highly fertile soil. What step can be taken to control soil erosion in the hilly area? Terrace farming and shelter plantation can be done to prevent soil erosion in hilly area. What are biotic and abiotic resources? All living organisms in our environment are called biotic resources. For example, tree, animal, insect, etc. Living things present in our environment are termed as abiotic resources. For example, earth, air, water, mineral. Explain land use pattern in India and why has the land under forest not increased much since about 45% of land is used as net sown area, that is for farming. About 22% of the land is under forest and the rest of the land is used for various purposes like housing, recreation and industrial activity. Increasing population and subsequent increasing in demand for resources is the main reason that forest land has not increased much during this period. How have technical and economical development led to more consumption of resources? Economic development creates the demand for various resources and technical development gives know how to exploit the resources. Thus, technical and economical development together led to more consumption of resources. Write the classification of resources on four different bases. Resources can be classified on the four ways. First, on the basis of origin, biotic and abiotic. Second, on the basis of exhaustibility. What do you understand by a resource? Everything available in our environment which can satisfy our need is called a resource. It should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. Only then it can be termed as a resource. Examples are mineral, forest, fossil fuel. Give any two examples of non-renewable resources. Non-renewable resources are the resources which one get exhausted cannot be remade. They take a long geological period of time, that is millions of years, in their formation. Explain four types of resources based on ownership and give one example of each type. On the basis of ownership, there are four types of resources. Individual resource, resources which are owned privately by individual. Example, farmer own pieces of land or house, plantation, fresh pasture, land, water and well, and some resources owned by individual. Community owned resources. These resources are accessible to all the members of the community. Example, village, pond, public park, playground in urban area. National resources. All the resources within the political boundary of a nation, including the terrestrial water extending into the ocean and resources therein belong to the nation. Example are mineral, forest, wildlife, water, land, etc. International resources. These are international institutions which own and regulate some resource. Example The oceanic resource beyond 200 kilometers of the extensive economic zone belong to the open ocean and no individual country can utilize these without the concentration concur- concurrence of international institutions. Explain three stages of resource planning. Three stages of resource planning: identification and inventory of resources across the region of the country. This involves surveying, mapping, and qualitative and quantitative estimate and measure of the resources, involving a planning structure endowed with appropriate technology, skill, and institutional setup for implementing resource development. Third, matching the resource development plan with overall national development. Planning is the widely acceptable strategy for judicious use of resource in a country like India. Justify the statement with two relevant points and an example. India has enormous diversity in the availability of resources through planning. Regions which have shortage of virtual resources and those have adequate quantity receive equal attention. These there are regions which are rich in certain type of resources but are deficient in some other resources. For example, Arunachal has abundant of water but lack in infrastructure development. There are some regions which can be considered of self-sufficient in terms of availability of resource. For example, the state of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in mineral and coal deposits. Third, there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. For example, the state of Rajasthan is well endowed with solar and wind energy, but it lacks in water resource. Explain the concept of resource conservation as voiced by Gandhiji. Gandhiji voiced his concern about resource conservation in this world. There is enough for everybody need and not for everybody's greed. He placed the greed and selfish individual as the root cause for resource depletion at the global level. He was against mass production and he wanted to replace it with production by the masses. Indiscriminate use of resources by human beings has led to the depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. Irrational consumption and overutilization of resources led to socio-economic environmental problems. Write some major way to solve problem of land degradation. Measure to conserve land: afforestation, proper management of grazing to control overgrazing, planting of shelter bed of plant, stabilization of sand dune by growing thorny bushes. Fourth, control of mining activities. Third, proper discharge and disposal of the industrial effluents and waste after treatment. Proper management of wasteland. Avoid over irrigation, especially in dry areas. Write six characteristics of river soil. They are made up of extremely fine, i.e. clayey particles. They have capacity to hold moisture that make them ideal for growing cotton. They are rich in soil nutrients such as calcium, carbonate, magnesium, potash, and lime. These soils are generally poor in phosphoric content. They develop deep cracks during hot weather, which help in the proper aeration of soil. Says they these soil are sticky when wet and difficult to work unless tilled immediately after the first shower. Give distribution of black soil. This soil is typically of Deccan Trap region. It is spread over northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flow. The soil cover the plateau of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, Madhya Pradesh, and Chhattisgarh, and extend along the Godavari and Krishna Valley. Write the main characteristics of arid soil. Arid soil range from the red to brown in color. They have a sandy texture. They are saline in nature in area where salt content is high. Common salt is obtained by evaporation. Arid soil lacks humus and its moisture deficient. The lower horizon of the soil have conquered because of high calcium content which restrict infiltration of water. Proper irrigation helps make the soil cultivated. Example Western Rajasthan. Explain three types of soil erosion mostly observed in India. So the first is gully erosion. The running water cut through the clayey soil and make deep canals called gullies. They make the land unfit for cultivation. Such land are called badlands. Sheet erosion. Sometimes water flow as a sheet over large area down a slope. In this case, top layer of the soil is washed away. Wind erosion. Wind blow off loose and dry soil from flat and slopy land causing erosion.